this felt like the first time a player has come out and said, he's the one, give him the job. I think he's, we've talked about this at length recently, I think he's arguably still United's best defender. Certainly when you combine availability with quality. Binnion's given it, Cobby, lovely touch. Next one comes back and it bounces off Mainoo's attempted control, to be honest, in a way that me and you could have done. It was not great. And Binnion just stands there and goes, tackle Cobby. You get the impression that things are going to continue, results are going to remain strong. And if United finish third, get back in the Champions League and the players are singing Carrick's praises, why on earth would you give the job to anyone different?
Before we jump into this podcast, let's just have a first word from our sponsors, NordVPN, the fastest VPN in the world and an absolute essential travelling companion. You can use NordVPN on 10 devices with just one account, easily switching your virtual location to access apps and websites in other countries. But if you're out of the country, make sure that you've got NordVPN to be able to use your subscriptions and watch the live sport that you might miss. If you're at home, use it to see if you can save money with products that might be cheaper in another region. Go to nordvpn.com/Manchester to get 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. The link is also in the podcast description. Hello and welcome to the Manchester is Red podcast. My name is Stephen Railston. It's a lovely Tuesday afternoon here in Salford and I hope the weather is similar out in Dublin, in the Republic of Ireland. Well, you're half an hour away from Dublin, aren't you, Ty? United are currently on a training camp to fill the time that they've got in between Premier League games, and Ty has gone out there to watch open training this morning. And Brian and Burmo and Ahmad have spoken as well. But before we get into that, Ty, how are you?
I'm good, thank you, Stephen. Good. A little bit tired. 6 a.m. flight this morning, so my alarm went off at 3 a.m. And anyone who has those early alarms will know that you never sleep well before that anyway. It must be about 9:30 maybe when I went to bed. And then woke up in the night and thought it must be nearly 3 a.m. now. Had a little look, 12:30. It's they're always a slog those nights, not sleeping well, constantly worried your alarm's not going to go off. So yeah, a little bit jaded, but a pleasure to be over here. The weather's pretty nice here too. Still at the hotel actually where United are staying and where they've been training this morning. Heading back to my own slightly less plush surroundings soon. But yeah, good day so far.
Has there been any travel shenanigans like my trip to Milan so far? You've been lucky.
I've been lucky, yeah. We got on the... I booked a flight this morning. Open training was 10:30, so it didn't leave a lot of time. But I booked the first flight out of Liverpool, the 6 a.m. flight, and got on it 6 o'clock. Seemed like we were ready to take off. Thought everything was going well. Don't move anywhere for 10 or 15 minutes. Pilot comes over and says, the aircraft was fueled last night, but to get in the sky and to legally fly, you need to have the receipt for the fuel, and the receipt has been lost, which was slightly concerning. There was another 10 or 15 minute delay while I tried to find the receipt. At that point, I was thinking we're going to have to swap planes here. I'm not actually going to make it.
I thought you said, well, you Ireland. Tried to find the receipt there.
Yeah, we were all on the floor looking for the receipt. Where's the receipt gone here? Is that how much fuel costs? Flipping heck. But yeah, thankfully the receipt was found. And yeah, we took off about half an hour late and it was no disaster and did make it in time for training.
Happy days. Before we get into training and bits and bobs, obviously huge news this morning because Harry Maguire has signed a new contract, a 1-year deal with the option of a 12-month extension. We knew it was going to happen. Cobby Mainoo will follow, but nonetheless, fantastic to see that get over the line today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's nice to see it announced. Thoroughly deserved, I think, for Harry. He's been fantastic recently, hasn't he? I think he's, we've talked about this at length recently. I think he's arguably still United's best defender. Certainly when you combine availability with quality, he's been brilliant of late. He's having a really, really good run. We'll come on to open training, but he was clearly enjoying himself at training this morning. He looks in a really good place. The 1 year plus an option by the sounds of things in the club's favour. Like we discussed it, I thought it might be 2 years, but yeah, great to see him stay in. And with Casemiro going as well, I think there's an argument that you need him next season just for his experience alone, because that level of experience is invaluable.
Yeah, completely. And I think it's a good deal for both parties, really. As we mentioned, we thought 2 years might be the sweet spot. Perhaps the club wanted a year. Perhaps Maguire might have tried his luck to get 3, but 1 year and the option feels like sensible common ground there, a sensible compromise. So fair play for them for finally getting that one done. Right, so a few training bits and bobs then, because they were obviously in training this morning. You got the first 15 minutes, didn't you, of that session? Yep. They're staying out at Carton House. Now, Real Madrid went in 2009. Burnley, Everton, Newcastle, Premier League clubs have all visited in the last few years. It looks like a really decent training complex, Ty. Can you give a bit of insight what it's actually like to be there? And we've talked about the weather. We've not talked about Guinness yet, but what's Carton House like?
It's very nice. I was covering Burnley when Burnley came here, so I have been previously. They did 3 or 4 days here, I think, and again, I had a much less interesting hotel, but it's a really nice setup. I'm just looking out in the bar now and looking out these huge windows into sort of farmyard, and it's very rural. There's a golf course, 2 or 3 golf courses out the back, and I'm sure at some point this week before Thursday, United's players will be hitting those golf courses. It is a really good setup. You're walking distance to the training pitches. We came into the hotel this morning. Training pitches are 3 or 4 minutes walk away. There's about 100 fans there this morning waiting for the players as they walk down the hill and onto the training pitches. So you can walk to training, you can walk back to your room, you can walk to the restaurant, you can walk to the golf course. You can see why it's so attractive to players. It is also quiet. It's referred to as Dublin. Like you say, it's about 30 minutes outside of Dublin. We had a conversation in the press commentary room afterwards, and one of the nationals here said we put in Dublin on bylines, and one of the locals shouted up saying, "It's County Kildare." So clearly...
Is that your Irish accent?
I know I was going to do an Irish accent, and I quickly backed out of it. Got to remember I am actually sat here in Ireland, so it's probably better I don't do an Irish accent just in case anyone walks past.
Don't offend the locals.
Exactly. Keen to let us know where they are, and it is a very quiet, like I say, very quiet, luxurious hotel, and it's got a nice vibe to it today. So you can see why it is so popular with various clubs.
Yeah, walk us through the session then, because obviously with open training, when United are in Europe, for listeners of this podcast who don't know, we are invited to open training sessions, and obviously we've been denied that this season because United haven't been in Europe. So it's a good opportunity, and you can glean bits and bobs from watching open training. As I said, it was only a 15-minute segment, but when you watch it, you can glean stuff in terms of the intensity, who's overseeing the session, how the players have responded. And by all accounts, judging off the videos that everyone was putting out this morning, Travis Binnion was right in the centre, in the thick of it. We know he's been very popular with the players, and that seemed to come across well this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. It was interesting, actually. We've all done countless of those European Open training sessions, and they all followed, especially under Amrim, the same formula. As in, it would be a rondo. It'd be 10 minutes of rondos, maybe 5 minutes of running. That'd be it, and everyone warms up with a rondo. And yeah, rondos are great, but it's pretty common practice. It was interesting to see United doing something different. And Binnion had set up this game where there was 20 outfield players involved. Dorgu was doing his own thing. So 20 outfield players involved, 5 teams of 4. And basically one of them would dribble past a few mannequins, get to the end, send a long pass back. And then there was those little 3x3 goals that are quite popular now. And the other 3 players on their team would have to basically all touch it, keeping the ball in the air, and one of them finish into the goal and keep score themselves. And I just thought it was interesting. It was a very different way to warm up. I'd never seen anything like that before. Like we say, every team, it seems, does come out, do a rondo for 10 minutes, you warm. This was something different. The players were clearly engaged in it. Binnion led the instructions, really commanding, really loud. And, we've all heard rave reviews from first-team players of Binnion's work, and you can kind of see there why players like him. If he's devising drills like this that are different, that are stimulating, we kind of mentioned this 24-day break. There's going to be a lot of training sessions there, and if everyone's starting with a rondo, it gets pretty boring. And this kind of just showed his creativity to do something different, really. And he gets the players engaged. They were competing against each other. There was one moment where a long pass came back, and Kobbie Mainoo kind of used the outside of his foot to control it to Mazraoui, and Binnion's giving it, Kobbie, lovely touch. Next one comes back, and it bounces off Mainoo's attempted control. To be honest, in a way that me and you could have done, it was not great. And Binnion just stands there and goes, "Tackle, Kobbie," and gets a laugh from some of the players at the poor first touch. There was one from Maguire, a lovely volleyed finish into the nets from Maguire, and Jonathan Woodgate, who clearly has a good rapport with Maguire, just goes, "Oh, H." And Maguire just turns to him laughing and goes, "You like that, yeah?" And it was just those sort of small bits, and you could sort of sense that the mood just seemed really light, really jovial. Everyone just seemed happy. They seemed to be enjoying themselves. Like I said, there was a lot of talking during the session, a lot of communication, a lot of jokes, a lot of but basically, Binnion was constantly at stress to say, this isn't a competition, this isn't a competition. But these are professional footballers. They were all treating it as a competition. And like I say, they were all sort of talking to each other, joking from group to group. Each coach was assigned a group to kind of keep an eye on and do the score, and they were getting involved and joking in it. It just felt like a really happy, united camp, to be honest. And for 15 minutes of what we saw, I thought it was really, really insightful to kind of see what is happening in training, and the fact that you can see why these players are singing the praises of this coaching staff.
Smiles on their faces because they're enjoying training with the current coaching staff. And also, as you said, because it's got 2 golf courses. Although Absolutely. I've been told that a lot of them actually like to play paddle now, the younger ones. It's actually trending the other direction, and they like them paddle, the likes of Manu and stuff. I've written about it a few times now with Manu. I think it's probably gone under the radar, the importance of Binnion in that coaching staff for Cobby Manu. Of course, when Cobby Manu came through the academy, it was Travis Binnion at under 18 level. Then it was Travis Binnion at under 21 level. And then Manu won the FA Youth Cup with Travis Binnion in charge. He then broke into the first team with Binnion's help and guidance. And Binnion's been that conduit between the first team and the academy and overseeing Manu's kind of jumping up to first team training and whatnot and those bits. So it's no wonder that now he's in the coaching staff. That's going to be a huge boost for Cobby Manu. And you've probably seen that this morning on the training pitch out there. A few bits of team news were kind of emerged when the travelling squad was actually confirmed. There wasn't really a shock, was it, when the players came out on the pitch? But Lissandro Martinez, he might have trained individually, but was he involved in the full
He was in the full session, yeah.
There you go. So Martinez picked up an injury in the build-up to the Everton game in February, wasn't it? It wasn't even last month. So he's been out for a little while now. And then Patrick Dogu as well had a hamstring injury that he picked up against Arsenal at the back end of January. So those two were the kind of the bigger ones that we're thinking we could have some clarity on. They were both in the travelling squad. Was Dogu involved in the main group?
No, he wasn't. He was doing his own thing. Yeah, so I think he'll be doing his own thing for the whole week. I mean, they're only here for 2 more days. So it does sound like he's still got some way to go. He's a hamstring injury. I think they're always quite cautious with it. He is doing some gym work. He's done a bit of running on the grass. But from what I've been told, he won't be ready to be in the squad against Leeds. Chelsea might even be touch and go. There's kind of a reluctance to put a time frame on it, and people close the door, and United are simply saying should be back before the end of the season. So it won't be Leeds. It might well not be Chelsea. It might be towards the end of this month. But just the fact he's here, I guess, when it shows the spirit that Carrick wants to build, and that he is making progress. But yeah, he is still doing his own thing at the moment.
Yeah, a shame Delit's not come across even. He's not in the travel squad, is he?
No.
We've been bank holiday. We've had days off. It's all been blended into one. But
absolutely, yeah.
We know the situation with Delit by now. It is ongoing. But again, as you say, could you have come across and been around the squad? Perhaps it would have been.
Well, that's the thing. Nice. To be honest, until you mentioned it, then I'd completely forgotten about it, really. And that does kind of show where De Ligt ranks at the moment in people's thought processes. It's 28th of November. We're pushing a couple of weeks off 5 months now of an absence with a back injury. There's absolutely no time frame on that. Every single press conference, it's the same answer of he's making progress. Clearly, that progress is very slow. And yeah, I don't think, I think there's 8 of us journalists over here. No one's even mentioned De Ligt, to be honest. And like you say, where is he? Could he have come and done some gym work over here? Been around the squad? It's kind of it's a non-story. You're the first person to mention it, and rightly so, because it is relevant, and he is a well-paid first-team member. But it does seem a bit of a mystery at the moment as to when he's going to be back, and the clock is certainly ticking towards the end of the season, isn't it? And that's to be a chance that he's not going to play again now for the end of the season.
Yeah, even if you just show your face, for example, and get on that plane and be around the gym, surely you can do very, very light gym work. But obviously, we're not privy to the exact details, but it remains to be seen whether he'll return before the end of the season. Ahmad and Mbeumo have spoken this afternoon at a press conference. Nice to have 2 players put up. I think it's a good opportunity, that, isn't it, to hear what they think. And of course, Carrick was at the top of the agenda. And Ahmad said, give him the job. Get the contract out, write the numbers down and give him the job. Now, what did he actually say, Ty? Because the quotes were interesting, weren't they?
Yeah, he said, it is the most explicit any player has been on Carrick. You all know you've done plenty of mix zones recently, and it feels like the players are always kind of dodging the issue, aren't they? And offering him support without saying what they do or don't want to happen. But yeah, Ahmad said it's not for us as players to decide for his future, but he's been very great. He's been doing so much for the team, a lot of experience. He mentioned the DNA. So we think he's the right man. And that was a we think he's the right man, which kind of gave the impression this is a squad view. And I think, it tallies with what we saw in training this morning, that these players are loving it at the moment. And you do get the impression that what Ahmad said is true. That the players
He's
pretty much
obviously
to a
had
man want him.
Yeah, he's obviously had media training, Ahmad. They all have to some extent. But I do get the impression, I've spoken to him a few times now, he is a lot more honest than a lot more players in the group. Or maybe not honest is the word the way I should put it. He's way more willing to give his opinion. That's how I should phrase it.
Yeah, well, he did go off script, or it felt like he was going off script on Carrick. Because like we say, we've had stock answers a lot, haven't we, from various different players on praising him without saying one way or the other. But, Ahmad offered it a couple of times, just looking through the quotes here. There was one later on. I think my personal decision is he's the right man. It's not for the players to decide. My honest opinion is we were really happy to have him as a manager, and he's doing well. It was, there was no kind of, this was unqualified support for him to get the job. And, and Buemo chimed in as well and said he's very happy with Carrick and pleased with Carrick. But this felt like the first time a player has come out and said he's the one, give him the job. And the fact that, it felt like Ahmad was speaking for the squad when he said, we think he's the right one. And it's pretty obvious the players are talking about this, aren't they? There's no way they can be in that dressing room and be around each other and not be talking about who their manager is going to be next season. It's the same as any industry. If there's a vacancy for your boss, you're going to talk about it with colleagues as who's going to get it. And football's no different. So these players are talking about it. And clearly what they're saying is that they're very happy with Michael Carrick. And it's interesting that, Ahmad was saying a couple of times, it's not for the players to decide, it's not our decision. But I did ask him at the end, is there not a case that you should be consulted? And I'm sure they will be. I'm sure, it's Omar Barada and Jason Wilcox who are thinking to be leading this search. I mean, they'd be foolish not to consult the squad, even if that's just a chat with Bruno Fernandes as to what the players think, or whether it's getting the leadership group and people like Harry Maguire and Tom Heaton and Diogo Dallo involved and saying, give us your feedback then, what's worked well, what doesn't, does anything need to change? Is Michael the right man? What's the coaching setup? They'd be foolish not to get that feedback. And you get the impression at the moment that the feedback would be, this is good. We're all in a happy place and in a good place. And yeah, it felt pretty significant, really, that Ahmad came out and said this. It did feel like, a big moment that the players are now clearly kind of breaking rank and saying, yeah, give him the job.
Yeah, I mean, every single player wants to play in the Champions League. And United have had no European football this season. And now they're third. They're well positioned to get Champions League. 7 wins in 10. It's been a fantastic run since Carrick has come in. Of course, you'd want that to continue. It's just common sense. Surely you look at Michael Carrick as one of those players in that dressing room and think, I want him to stay on. And I think from my personal opinion, it's not changed at all from the last 6 weeks or so. I think I've said, I think he should be given the job provided an elite manager isn't available. And it's looking like that elite manager isn't going to be available.
Exactly.
Probably not going to be Enrique. Is Nagelsmann? Probably not, because of the World Cup, as we've discussed with Germany and his contract situation. So the wider context in the managerial market, it's all pointing, and the results and everything, it's all pointing to Carrick getting that job at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's approaching what feels like a formality now. Like you said, this started in January with talk of like Glasner was high on the list, and I think he's got, there's people that like Glasner at Old Trafford. De Zerbi, there's certainly people here who like De Zerbi. He's obviously now got the Tottenham job. But you're looking at Glasner, Iraola, Marco Silva, these sort of people who are out of contract at the end of the season. You'd be mad to give any of them the job over Carrick now, given what Carrick has done at this club and the risks associated with promoting someone like that. You're right that it is now, if you started off with a list of 15 or 20, Carrick has put himself above 17 or 18, if there have any. You're right, the only people I think would even consider now would be Luis Enrique and Nagelsmann, and both of them are going to be difficult to get for pretty obvious reasons. So if it's not either of those two, Tuchel staying with England, I think it's pretty much a formality that Carrick stays. I think United would be right not to give him the job right now. We did see that with Solskjaer in 2019, and I think it makes sense to wait for these 7 games just to see how things go. But you do not get the impression that the wheels are going to fall off anytime soon. You get the impression that things are going to continue, results are going to remain strong. And if United finish third, get back in the Champions League, and the players are singing Carrick's praises, why on earth would you give the job to anyone different?
Yeah, completely. I mean, there's only 7 games remaining now in the Premier League, and the whole point of this training camp was to prepare for this running. And you look at the remaining fixtures: Leeds at home, Chelsea away, Brentford at home, Liverpool at home, Sunderland away, Forest at home, Brighton away. I mean, Leeds, Brentford, Sunderland, Forest, Brighton. There's 5 games there that are huge opportunities. And even Chelsea away, I mean, they're a bit of a basket case club. Liverpool are licking their wounds, are in a bad situation. Slot could be gone by them potentially if they get hammered off PSG in the Champions League. It's a pretty kind running when you look at it. But also United have got in that position where, and because of Carrick's work, we're looking at it and thinking it's a kind running. If it was Ruben Amorim in charge, I'd be thinking, I don't know, Chelsea might be a bit tricky, Liverpool might be a bit tricky, and that's because of the work Carrick's done with his coaching staff.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, we did podcasts towards the end of the Amorim era, and you made an argument for every game being tricky. We spoke about Wolves away when Wolves had 2 points and said this is a banana skin. And you did have that feeling with United under Amorim and under, towards the end with Ten Hag as well, that you looked at every game, and every single game you thought, difficult. Could see them not winning that. Not sure I fancy them there.
Even Coventry, when Ten Hag was in charge, semi-finals when we rocked up at that match, I remember thinking they could really go out here. It could be horrific, and it was a fraction away, a fingernail away from going out.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing you'd say with Carrick now is that you don't look at any game now. That you look at games now and you think, yeah, I'm pretty confident they're going to win that. And you just look at, there's been questions recently about the away form, and I think it's 2 wins from 8, maybe it's 2 wins from 9 now away from home. I mean, it's not disastrous given the run. Their away form, I think, is okay. It kind of shows the improvement he's made, that's become the talking point. But you look at their form at Old Trafford, it's 5 wins in a row. And I think that's gone slightly under the radar. You'd fancy them to beat Leeds at home. You'd fancy them to beat Brentford at home, purely because they're in that position now where they look good at Old Trafford again. They're creating chances. They look like they're controlling and dominating home games. And that has not been the case for a long time. It was never the case under Amorim. It was the case under Ten Hag for his first season, and then the wheels came off after that. It does feel now like they've got a strong platform again at home. There's been, we've said it a lot, there's been a real simplicity to the Carrick era, and I mean that in a complimentary way. And you sense that with the home form as well. It's just getting the basics right, getting players in strong positions, playing solid attacking football, and it's been working. And yeah, like I say, you don't get the impression that things are about to fall apart here. United are going to lose 5 of their last 7 and finish 6. Their running's kind, they're playing well, they look confident, they look happy. Chelsea are verging on a crisis again. Liverpool, same, got a terrible running. And you'd be amazed. I said it for a while, United should finish 3rd now. And I still think United should finish 3rd. I don't think it's going to cost Carrick the job if they finish 4th, but I think it would be a disappointment from here, to be honest. If they did finish 4th, I think they should be looking to finish 3rd, and every player wants to finish as high up as they can.
Some youngsters were included in the travelling squad as well. Fred Heath, Yul Helafeu, Jim Thwaites, Victor Musa. I'm not going to ask you about 3 of those players because I don't think they're relatively interesting in regard to the first team. But Jim Thwaites is a decent prospect. He has trained with the first team quite a lot. He's a silky midfielder, can control the ball, distribute it efficiently. A few of the under-21 players have obviously stayed behind, so the likes of Shea Lacey and Tudor Obi, Jack Fletcher, they would have been included on the trip, but the under-21s are playing Real Madrid tonight, and I'm at that game. So Jim Thwaites has been given the opportunity to go across. Did you get an opportunity to watch him this morning, Ty? Did you see him involved? I always find it interesting when you go to open training because you see how these young players who perhaps would be in that environment for the first time with people watching are interacting with senior players, and you get to look at the senior players and see how they're interacting with the young players. And Bruno Fernandes, for example, and Harry Maguire, just a couple, and Tom Heaton, they're fantastic with the young players. They really make an effort and go out of the way to make those young players feel comfortable and settled in the session.
Yeah, and I think the fact it was a relaxed environment and that it was a case of having fun. Like I said, the 15 minutes we saw was all about fun, basically. And I think that makes it easier for a young player to settle in. We were kind of focusing on the group nearest us had, I think it was Harry Maguire, Kobbie Mainoo, Manuel Ugarte and Mazraoui. We were kind of focusing on them, but you could see the other young lads and they were getting involved. Like I said, I just think the environment that you kind of felt, the way you felt the environment was that happy, relaxed place makes it easier for a young player, and it will be great experience. Be great experience for Jim Thwaites. We've both seen him in Youth Cup games this season. His set pieces are a massive weapon, aren't they? And the way the Premier League's going at the moment, having set pieces like that is probably a pretty strong weapon to have and chance of getting you in the team at some point if you can deliver corners and free kicks the way he does. It's Beckham-esque at times. So, a great experience for him. And just the chance for those young lads, the chance to be around the players that they're in the same hotel. Like I say, I'm sure they'll be playing golf at some point. There'll be other events going on. They'll have other things lined up. They'll be at dinner and breakfast together, and just a chance to pick their brains and have that experience of being around them and see how they live, I think is invaluable really for them.
Yeah, completely. Even when Ruben Amorim, for example, was naming 2 goalkeepers on the bench, I think giving a young player that opportunity on a match day, even on a match day, he's still at Old Trafford, but just to be around the first team group, see how they prepare for games, see how they act in the dressing room, what they're like in the warm-up, it's incredibly valuable for their development. How many Guinness tonight then?
Well, I'm not actually much of a Guinness fan, to be honest.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I don't like it at all.
You're going to turn around and say, I love Murphy's.
Really? Yeah. Any stout, not for me. Don't know how people manage to drink it, to be honest.
Right, I love Guinness, yeah, absolutely.
Oh, no, I cannot do it. I have done the Guinness factory tour in Dublin previously, and obviously you do get one at the end. And I have to say, the thing people say about it tasting better over here, it did taste better, but it tasted 4 out of 10 rather than
I'd hope
1
so.
out of 10 back home.
The bars in Dublin, I think, charge £10 for a pint of Guinness, so I hope it tastes €10, but I hope it tastes a little bit better.
Price. Yeah. So no, I'll be giving the Guinness a miss. A few of the press pack did come out last night. I think it was a relatively quiet night, but yeah, I think I'm going to watch Bayern Munich Real Madrid tonight, or Real Madrid Bayern Munich. That's a mouth-watering Champions League tie, isn't it? And you'll be watching a very different Real Madrid.
Yeah,
it could be a good game. That I'm interested to know actually what whether that's on here or not. I'm going to try and find out from United tomorrow whether.
Yeah, I mean it'll be on MUTV, won't it? I'm pretty sure.
I imagine the first team would quite like to watch Real Madrid Bayern Munich, because let's be honest, that is a proper European game, isn't it? But I wouldn't be surprised if Carrick and his coaching staff maybe find a quiet room somewhere.
No doubt. No doubt, I think Carrick and the coaching staff would be following it, but I think you're asking a bit much for the remainder of the squad to be sat down and watching them.
Game. Hopefully they've got 2 TVs.
Yeah, I think that'll be the case. And lots of Guinness.
See if anyone's hungover tomorrow.
Yeah, it might have a negative effect on the running, actually, not a positive effect for the remaining 7 games. Right, Ty, enjoy the rest of your trip. We'll leave it there. Thanks to listeners as usual. It's just been a quicker, snappier episode today because of time constraints. I think we'll be back potentially later in the week or next week. We'll have to double check. But we'll be back soon. Take care.